Hi everyone, my name is Faye. I need a vacation and I think so do you, so let's distract ourselves with some reality TV mess. So today I'll be talking about the second episode of the new Bravo show, Next Gen NYC. The episode starts off with Ariana walking through the streets of New York again, and she's just telling us that it's always been her dream to live in the city, and well, she finally made it. Riley also talks about her experience. She says that she's been living in the city for 5 years now, recently just moved to Brooklyn, and that she really enjoys it, but that it does differ from Atlanta, where she's from, because in Atlanta there was more of a community, which she's now found in Brooklyn as well. But she said before she moved to Brooklyn, she met a bunch of people who were kind of just out for themselves and using each other, and that was a shock to her when she first got there. In the next scene, Charlie, his roommate Dylan, I believe Rain, as well as Georgia is sitting around. I believe it's in Dylan's and Charlie's apartment, and they're talking about last night. And apparently Georgia lost her phone. She was so drunk. My God, I think that's, besides losing your wallet, that's like one of the worst things that you can lose. I actually think losing your phone in a way is a bit worse than losing your wallet. Anyway, they sit around in the apartment and they talk about last night when the whole hand washing gate happened between Georgia and Riley. And apparently after she had left, Georgia was still standing outside the room where the others were and like looking inside. Like she got, like Charlie called it her second wind, she got really agitated and wanted to go in and confront Riley and storm in there. And Charlie thankfully talked her out of that. I didn't like the way he did it though. It felt kind of microaggressive to me. He was like, Riley is real tough, and like if you approach her, like she'll dish it right back. And I don't know, I just didn't like that, because you always have to think about the dynamics, a white man speaking about a black woman, and he made her sound kind of aggressive, and that's not what Riley has presented herself to be at all. Yeah, so they continue talking, and Dylan says that, Charlie says that Riley's hard to read, and then Dylan chimes in and says that Riley tests people at first, and she did the same to him, and apparently she threatened to punch him. I don't know, that sounded a bit dramatic to me. And again, I don't like the whole painting Riley as aggressive thing. I do not like that, because she's not. And I just always wonder if they'd be using that kind of verbiage if she, didn't look the way she looked. But yeah, anyway, we cut to the confessional where Riley's asked about the subject, and she said she never wanted to punch him in the face. He was just mad, and they were beefing because apparently Riley left him and like 10 guys outside of a club in New York because they wanted to get in with her, but obviously, you can't get in a club for free with 10 guys. I get that. So he was salty about that. Georgia finishes off the conversation by saying that Riley and Gia were giving her mean stares last night. And yeah, I have to say, I'm kind of over the hand washing thing already. It's annoying. The conversation ends on a kind of a funny note though, when one of the guys, I don't remember who, forgive me, he doesn't know who Gia is, and then Dylan brings up the whole video, the waking up in the morning thinking about so many things, and oh my God, I was dying laughing. It was so hilarious. And the funny thing is that I had no idea who Gia was back then either when that whole video went viral everywhere, but I know that TikTok, so it's crazy that that's actually her and that was a real song. Oh my God, but children are so cute. In the next scene, we see Gia and her mom, Theresa, walking to a lunch with Meredith, Marks, and Brooks. And it's just a little quick moment, but I think it's so hilarious and cute. Theresa goes like, oh, I don't like those jeans. And Gia's like, well, I like them. And that's just, I don't know, that's like such mom shade to just like randomly be like, hey, I don't like this piece of your outfit. I don't know, that made me smile a little bit, like it's funny to me. They have a cute dynamic, I think, from what I can see. But yeah, they walk to the lunch, and it's funny, they show Brooks and Meredith arriving as well. I think they arrived first, yeah. And Brooks goes up to not the receptionist, what is it called? Like the greeter or whatever, and he's like, The reservation is under Brooks' marks. I'm like, okay, Brooks, I see you getting that reservation, like not under your mom's name. Love that. But I don't know. I just like that. But yeah, they sit down, the four of them. Oh no, actually, before that happens, I'm so sorry. Brooks talks to his mom about the whole Chloe and Charlie texting, and she's also rightfully like irritated by that happening and tells him that he needs to demand respect for his sister, which I completely agree with. Brooks then tells Meredith about the conversation he had with Charlie, and he did stand up for himself. He stood up for his sister, and he told him, "Do not disrespect my sister." I was like, "Yay, good for you." And Charlie did promise to not do it again, and said he understood where he was coming from. Well, we'll talk about that more later. In the confessional, Brooks tells us how him and his mother have been friends with Theresa and her daughter Gia for the past 3 years, and he really, credits Gia with helping him adjust to the housewives world, showing him how to navigate that, and unfortunately, he also brings up some of the hate he received online, some of the bullying, especially when it came to his sexuality, and that made me really sad for him because, like he said, I mean, we've seen so little of him on the show. It felt like a lot, but it wasn't a lot at all, and we don't know him as a person. And for people to send anyone hate, I think that's just gross. There was a funny moment in the confessional, however, when they were talking about the whole Chloe and Charlie thing again, and then I think the producer asked Brooks, "Is Gia your mouthpiece?" And he was like, "Well, I don't know how to answer that." And then Gia, word for word, told him what to say, basically being his mouthpiece. And it's hilarious because he started, repeating what she said, and then he realized, and he was like, "Oh my God, you guys are gonna cut this, so it looks like I'm just saying what she said," which, he did, and that was really funny to me. Hand wash gate comes up again when when Gia and Brooks tell their moms about it, and Theresa, she was hilarious. Her facial expressions, like she was not having it, and they showed the little thermometer with her getting visibly agitated. It was perfection. Next we see Charlie and Dylan in their shared apartment, and the apartment looks a mess, and even Dylan is like, "Hey man, we have to clean this up. It can't look like we partied every day." And then Charlie is like, "Oh, just leave it for the maids. My housemaid is coming soon." And yeah, did not like that. Didn't like that. And I don't think Dylan liked that either. And he says in the confessional that Charlie always does this. Instead of picking things up, for himself, or even just letting Dylan pick up after himself, he's like, no, just leave it for the staff or whatever. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I just think it says a lot about your character, how you treat people who can't do anything for you, and who you perceive as, to lower in the hierarchy of life or whatever, if you look at social status. And I just don't like that. I don't like that attitude. It's okay if you can afford help, and obviously, I would love to spend less time cleaning and washing and doing housework, but I'm not gonna not do things that make their jobs easier just to not do them. You know what I mean? It takes literally a second to throw something in the trash. So that just made me dislike Charlie even more, honestly. We also learned some more about Dylan. He grew up in Chicago, in a blue-collar family. He started MMA when he was 9, which I'm like, wow, your parents allowed you to do that? That's crazy. I don't know if I could allow my son to do that at 9. That's a lot. But yeah, and then in 5th grade, he started wrestling, and he actually became the state champion. He was in the top 50 of the entire country. And, was able to go to Colombia, but then unfortunately he got injured. That happens a lot, unfortunately. But yeah, ever since then, he describes himself as having been a digital entrepreneur, just always being on whatever the new trending app is, whether it be YouTube, Snapchat. I think he said, what was the other one? Twitch, and now he mostly does OnlyFans, and of course they have to show some a little montage of his OnlyFans pictures. So yeah, look him up if you want to. Dylan in the confessional is then asked how Charlie makes his money, And he's basically like, I don't think he makes money. I've never seen him work. A little shady, but I live. And then, he says that he believes he has a trust fund and that he probably gets an allowance. And, he kind of covers for Charlie a little bit by saying that, of course he shouldn't work if he has all that. That's up for a debate, I would say. But yeah, good looking out, bro. The next scene is really telling. We see Charlie at his dad's apartment and they're just like talking, and his dad is literally on the laptop the entire time while they're talking, presumably working. But yeah, he asks Charlie almost like it's a hobby, like, oh, how's your trading gone today? And Charlie responds that Bitcoin went down and he's just gonna buy more and more. And then his dad actually schools him, his appointed crypto trader, on trading. And he's like, that's actually not a trading strategy, that is an investment strategy. Oof, not you being schooled by your client. Charlie tells us a bit more about his childhood. He said he grew up on the Upper East Side and life was all about being rich and being cool. That tracks, I would say, with how we see him act. Back in the scene, Charlie and his dad talk about an upcoming trip or whatever to Greece, and his dad was like, yeah, we should book your ticket. And then Charlie says, well, I wasn't on the last trip. And his dad was like, oh, I don't know what happened with that. And Charlie reminds him that he was not invited, in fact. And his dad kind of makes a comment like, oh, yeah, I went with, I think he said Una. I believe that's probably Charlie's sister. We don't know that yet, though. But he's like, yeah, I think I just went with Una. She's my favorite anyway. You can tell that Charlie feels a way about that, but he tries to make it into a joke by saying, haha, well, I know I'm your favorite for real. And then his dad, like, instead of just letting the statement be and letting Charlie recover through his little joke, kind of digs the knife deeper and says, well, is that so? Well, perception is reality, I guess. Basically saying, hey, if that's what makes you feel better. And I was like, damn, that even hurt me. And I don't even like you, Charlie. Yeah. But, in the confessional, Charlie shares with us that his dad has always been a good father, as in he's provided for the family, he, gave them a stable life, but he was never a good dad, and that he, that Charlie could never really confide in him or talk about his emotions, and that made me sad for him, because everyone should have a great dad. Next, Amira and Ava meet up and they walk through Central Park. Neither of them are nature girls. I think it's so funny how they acted about like the bugs or whatever. And Amira even says like that's, not her thing usually. But yeah, they talk a little about modeling. Ava has went the traditional model route and Amira is just now venturing from content creator modeling to traditional modeling. And yeah, Ava says that she actually admires Amira and the social media platform she's grown, and she says that it's a skill to be able to know your audience so well, and she's trying to grow her social media and to find her audience. She's taking some pointers from Amira. She says though that the whole thing doesn't come as naturally to her, and I have to say I kind of get it. I don't know why. I really, really want to go up for Ava, but it's a little hard for me to really just like her. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the way she carries herself or her monotone voice. I don't know what it is, but she just doesn't seem as relatable to me. And you don't have to be relatable, especially not as a model, but there's something that I find kind of cold about her, if that makes sense. I have to see as the season progresses if I still feel the same way, but for now, I really, really want to like Ava, but it's an effort, for me at least. Amira shares with Ava that she's going to introduce her boyfriend Kevin to her parents, and then Ava shares a little bit about how when her boyfriend, I believe his name is Hook? Is that his government name? I think the screen said Hook. But yeah, he's some kind of wrestler too, so maybe that's a stage name. But she shares how her father, Dame Dash, kind of interrogated him when she brought him home. And then they talk about the fact that they should set up Charlie or whatever. And Amira kind of uses that as an in to bring up the fact that she thinks that Charlie and Ava have a thing for each other. Which I said in my previous video, I said it seemed like Ava was a little bothered by the fact that Charlie asked out Chloe on a date. And it's telling, you know, Amira's friends with both of them. She's been around them. It's interesting to see that she actually feels the same way. But Ava says that she doesn't see Charlie in that way. She's not attracted to him. Frames it as, oh, I'm not attracted to him because he wouldn't motivate me. He wouldn't help me grow. But she doesn't really clearly say that, oh, I could never see him that way. I only see him as a friend. So we'll see how that goes on. After that, we're back in Charlie's dad's apartment, and Charlie tells his dad all about Dylan and his OnlyFans, and his dad, without looking away from the keyboard, tells him that he should go work out with him. I don't know. Like, that could have just been a little innocent joke, but it just felt so awkward after the scene we saw earlier. It kind of felt like, get a real job, you know, even though it's not a job. OnlyFans is a job, but obviously working out itself is not a job. So it was like weird. Like, it just felt like he was not all too impressed by his son, if that makes sense. And I believe from what we see that Charlie feels the same way. After that, we cut to Ariana and Hudson at a fabric store in New York. Oh my god, it's such a big store. Why did that kind of remind me of Project Runway? I don't know, I loved it. Like, I really wanted them to get like into like some sewing patterns or doing whatever, but you know, obviously it's a reality show, so they were just talking and looking at fabric. And yeah, apparently they want to start a fashion label together. It's called Adored Angels, and it's based around the fact that I don't know, I guess Ariana's really into angel numbers. Her and Hudson have both bonded over fashion. They love design. And it's really cool because Ariana just lightly mentioned the fact that she wants to make sure that, you know, they have contingencies in case something sours in the relationship. They'll still be good and not in a position to take each other to court, like her parents. And then Hudson immediately is like, no, this is going to be your company and you're launching this and I want you to have 51%. I'll take 49, and that way everything will be cool and only you can steal from me. And I really like that. I have to say, I really like Hudson. I don't know if it's going to change, but he seems like such a good, decent person and good boyfriend and partner. And I'm really happy for Ariana, and they're a very cute couple together. They also compose a text to Riley because Ariana mentions that she wants to catch up with Riley and hang out with her after 10 years, so they'll be meeting up, and I can't wait for that, honestly. Next, we see Ava and her dad, Dame Dash. They're walking through New York City and they're going out for lunch, and you can just tell how proud Damon is of his daughter. Like, he loves Ava, and that makes me so happy for her. Like, he's bragging about her, saying she has a black belt in artsy fartsy stuff, in street stuff, in just New York stuff. And yeah, he just loves himself some Ava. And Ava tells us a bit more about her childhood, how she grew up in New York City until she was 14, and then she moved to LA with her mother. Apparently her father moved out there after them. And yeah, I mean, the kind of sad thing is that her parents divorced when she was 9. That's not the sad thing, probably for the best, but she felt like she was in the middle between them. There was a time when she wasn't speaking to her father, and I'm sure that must have been really, really difficult for her. And the relationship between her parents is apparently still somewhat strained, because even her dad says, you know, it would be cool if they were all cool, but, you know, they're not. And then he does something that I didn't like. He's asking his daughter to fix the relationship between, you know, her parents. And I thought that was so messed up, because he should not be laying that responsibility and that emotional burden on his daughter's shoulders. Like, he's the adult. No matter how old his daughter is going to be, he's always going to be the adult. He's always going to be her parent. You know, it's up to him, the relationship he wants to have with his ex-wife. Anyway, Ava tells Damon that she's really into modeling and that, you know, she wants to take it as far as it can go. While her father kind of is not very excited about that. He feels like Ava has the entrepreneurial spirit that both him and his ex-wife have, and he wants her to lead one of his companies. And he says he'll create as many companies as it takes until Ava finds the one she wants to run. Yeah, I don't know. That made me a little bit worried about the quality of his like company's product services or whatever, because the way he made it seem is like he'll just create a company like willy-nilly out of nothing. So like I don't know, but yeah, Ava's not really into it. She wants to be a model, and I get that. Anyway, entrepreneurship isn't for everyone, so I totally get that, and I hope Ava's model career is gonna bloom and blossom. In the next scene, we finally see more of Riley, and we see the Riley Ariana meetup. Before they meet up, however, Riley calls her mom, Candy Burris, to just, talk about the fact that she's meeting Ariana, and then they go over the fact that when Candy and Kim fell out, that's when their daughters stopped communicating, even though they were best friends. I have to say though, it's a little weird because when Ariana speaks of their past relationship, she says that they were best friends. When Candy speaks of the relationship, she frames it as they were best friends. But then Riley says, well, I barely remember hanging out with her. That seemed like, I just noticed it. I don't know if she would say they were best friends, you know what I mean? But yeah, Candy's really excited for them to meet up again. And then of course Riley asks her why her and Kim fell out, and Candy's like, that's none of your business. Thought that was a little funny moment. But yeah, it seems that both Kim, Ariana says this later, and Candy do not want their past drama to affect Ariana and Riley, and they're both really excited for them to reconnect again. And I have to say, I was excited too. I thought the meetup was so cute between the two of them. They seemed really genuinely happy to see each other again, and they just start talking, about where they live or whatever, the city. And Ariana asks Riley to help her out a little bit, show her around town, introduce her to some people, because she wants like a Tinder for friends. And I have to say, I feel you, Ariana. Finding friends as an adult is so hard, especially if you move. Like, oh my god, like I wish it just could be like kindergarten, where you're like, hi, my name is, do you want to be friends? And then the other person's like, yeah, let's be best friends. So yeah, that was really nice. So yeah, Riley then invites Ariana to come out with her and everyone, and Ariana's really pleased about that, and I'm happy too. I'm excited to see what happens. In the next scene, we see Amira and her boyfriend, Kevin. They're at lunch or whatever. Amira tells us that they met on Hinge, have been talking for 2 years. Apparently, Kevin works in finance, like he's a normal, regular guy. She describes him as calm, cool, collected, someone that grounds her because she has like neurotic energy, and they seem to be a lovely pair. What's really funny is that Kevin, he did not know who Amira was at all. And then, when they met up or whatever, he said he looked at her and noticed the way she was dressed and said, she does not seem to be a regular person. That was really cute to me. Then, of course, he found out she was a TikTok sensation, as he calls it. But, that didn't matter to him as much. And then even one time, she took him out to an event that he called Parada. Did he say piranha? It sounded like piranha, but he said Parada Beauty, and she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, with the lipstick, and she's like, Prada Beauty. That was so funny to me, and that's what Amira seems to love about him, because she said she was used to dating social climbers. She introduced them to her world, and then they just climbed up out of there. So good for her. In the next scene, everyone goes out to the bar, and I have to say, I don't think I've said this before, I love Riley. She's so beautiful, and what I especially adore is the fact that she wears her hair natural a lot, and she has the most gorgeous, beautiful hair. So good for her. And yeah, so that's just a little side note. They talk about the fact that Ariana and her boyfriend Hudson are going to be joining them. And of course, Charlie has to make it negative. He has a lot of preconceived notions about the housewife kids. He was actually annoyed that so many of them were casted. I'm like, buddy, don't you know the housewife kids are the only reason the show like is on, that we're watching the show? It's not because of you, like, no offense, but we do not know you. We do know the housewife kids, however, so chill. Charlie also seems to already dislike Ariana because of her mom and all the mess that's going on with her and the media or whatever. I think that's really unfair. I think you should give people the chance, to introduce themselves to you, and not judge them based on their appearance, because that's not Ariana's fault. When Ariana walks in with Hudson, she's in great spirits. She meets everyone super friendly. She's very nice. But the vibes with Charlie, like I said, were immediately off because he was already determined on disliking her before she even walked in. And him and Dylan made it really awkward by saying like, oh, we've heard so much about you, so many things. And I could tell Ariana felt really uncomfortable by that. In the confessional, she even tells us that she's been dealing with this kind of stuff happening to her all her life. People judged her based on her mother, Kim's actions. Parents forbade their children to be friends with her. They weren't allowed to play with her because they thought she was just like Kim, and called her all these nasty names. And that made me really sad for her. I imagine it is really tough growing up as a housewife kid, or just generally as like a celebrity kid. That, I'm sure is not easy. Charlie then makes a lame joke about hand wash gate, which again, I'm over at this point. And Ariana, and the joke was, he asks, oh, do you have your Purell ready for when Georgia comes? And then Ariana says, well, I have mine. And then Charlie almost viciously rushes to exclude her, like, you don't even know what happened. You don't even know anything about it. And Ariana's like, I do know about it. And that was just so weird to me. So nasty, so rude. Ariana promptly lets him know that he can stop being disrespectful. And apparently this bothered Charlie a bit, but instead of saying anything to Ariana, he lashes out at his favorite punching bag, Brooks, by bringing up his sister Chloe yet again and asking about her. Brooks is so uncomfortable with it. He says he just wants to be left out of it. And it's so interesting that whenever Charlie feels bad about himself, he just wants to put someone else down. Georgia then arrives and she lets everyone know that she's washed her hands and asks Riley if she can hug. And Riley's laughing. She's like, girl, we're okay. We're over it. It's fine. And I was like, thank God. Let's put this to bed. Charlie and Georgia go outside on the balcony to smoke. And of course, instead of just having a good time, welcoming Georgia, whatever, catching her up, Charlie has to bring up the hand wash situation again and tells Georgia that Ariana, this new girl who he doesn't even know, brought it up, whatever, is talking about it. And I mean, production does show a montage of Ariana talking about it, but to be fair, everyone was talking about it, and she wouldn't even have known anything to talk about if it hadn't been brought to her several times. So I thought that was unfair. And what I think was really bizarre was that Charlie, who says himself that he does not know Ariana, calls Ariana the B word. And that to me is so disrespectful, so disgusting. To have a grown man, again, you're 30, call this little 22-year-old girl a B. No man should ever call a woman a B. That's disgusting. And then what's even more out of line is that he calls Hudson, he calls him the sweetest little C-U-C-K boyfriend. Oh my God, I don't even know what to say at this point. That's so bizarre to me. Why would you call someone who you don't even know? You've met this man for 10 minutes. You haven't even spoken to him. What do you call him? Just because he seems to be a good partner and a good friend. And how old are you? How childish and immature is that to demean a man just because he treats a woman well? That to me is so weird. Back inside, obviously, Ariana and Hudson are really fed up. Riley listens to them and says, hey, I completely understand where you're coming from. Personally, I don't read too much into it because I just think it's Charlie being Charlie. and that's just how he is. I hate when people make that excuse for bad behavior, like, oh, that's just who that person is. I don't like that. And also, just to hear Riley talk, I just wonder, why are they friends with him? Why is she friends with him? Why is anyone friends with him? Side note, they show Shy or Shay, I'm so sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Just while the tensions are high, he's standing next to a cactus and like touching it, like, is this real? And honestly, he is like reality TV gold. He is the much needed comic relief in the show. Like, just the fact that everyone's like on edge and he's wondering if the plants are real. Then the fact that he, just like how he sits in his confessionals, like one time he was barefoot, the other time like he was sideways on the chair. Like, he's hilarious to me. He seems like a lost puppy somehow. I don't know, I love it. I love his energy. Oh yeah, and he also doesn't like avocado, which is fine, but the reason why he doesn't like it is because he thinks that's what a penis would taste like. So I don't know, that's like the weirdest reason I think I've ever heard of someone not liking something. Hilarious to me. Georgia brings up the whole hand washing thing again when they go back inside. It's really uncomfortable because she's not saying it to Riley, but Riley's right opposite of her. And she goes on the whole my body, my choice diatribe again. And then she does bring it to Riley, and she tells her that Riley was being scary about the situation. That, to me, that is such a microaggression. Riley is not scary. She has not shown herself to be scary. And to even say someone is being scary because they don't want to touch you after you've not washed their hands, that is such Karen behavior. Oh my God, I didn't like it. You could visibly see Riley just deflate, and like that comment I think really hurt her, but she tried to play it off. And her friend, by the way, oh my God, he's so handsome. I forget his name, but he also did not like that comment at all. But you could see that Riley's probably somewhat used to it, and she just kind of let that fly. Made me sad for her though, because I know how it is, you know, to kind of be the only one, and that's really sad. It's really hard. But yeah, then the conversation devolves about toilet etiquette. Why? Yeah. They talk about the fact that Georgia apparently sits down in public restrooms. Wow. But yeah, that's that. After that, they all head out to a club. They walk. It's a good 20-minute walk. And I was feeling Ariana. She had on high heels. And she's like, I will not be taking my heels off in this city. Like, I would die. And I feel her. I actually did the same thing the other day. Meanwhile, you know, it was weeks, like almost a month, that I still have, like, my feet are still messed up over it. So, yeah, not a good idea. But, you know, I probably wouldn't take my shoes off in New York City either. They get to the club and it is hilarious. Georgia is like, she's real talk. She's sitting in the club with her laptop, like her full size MacBook, probably Pro, whatever, in the club, like asking the people for Wi-Fi. It's like, I was dead. That's so funny to me. And yeah, everyone's having a good time. They're laughing, they're drinking, they're dancing. That was actually really fun to see. And I do love this kind of youthful energy that the show brings. Of course, Charlie has to ruin it though by going up to Brooks, who's having a good time with his friends, and asking if he minds if he F's his sister. What is wrong with you, Charlie? Like, what is wrong with you? It's almost as if he doesn't want anyone to have fun. Like, he wants everyone to be miserable just because he's miserable. Brooks tells Ariana about it, who's, you know, obviously shocked. And then Riley in the confessional says that that's Charlie. He likes to wait till you're vulnerable and then strike and attack you. Since he knew that Brooks was on his own, there was no Ariana, there was no Gia, there was no Riley, he just went in for the kill. And again, if this is the person you're describing, why are you friends with this person? I don't know. I don't understand that. Ariana wants to stand up for her friends, so outside, Ariana and Hudson approach Charlie, and Ariana straight up asks him why he's being a D. Immediately Charlie goes into victim mode, like, oh, I don't know, why am I in this situation? What is this? He said it's disrespectful, it's now crossing a weird line. Mind you, what's disrespectful and crossing a weird line is the fact that someone is challenging him and is confronting him about his disgusting behavior. But yeah, all I can say is Karen. It's really funny though, because Ariana accidentally, or maybe intentionally, gags him by calling him an elder. She's like, "We're 22. You, sir, are an elder." And I was, oh my God, dead. And Charlie did not like that. And that's when he kind of spun into Karen overdrive and went back to kind of attack Ariana and says that she's well groomed to partake in this type of behavior, insinuating that because her mother is a housewife, she's this dramatic, confrontational, fake, beefy person. And Ariana gives her best "excuse me," and that had me laughing as well. It reminded me of Eileen Davidson on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills when Kim was like, "You beast," and she was like, "Beast, excuse me." I thought it was hilarious, very, very funny, because Ariana, like, she hasn't been groomed to be, a housewife or whatever, but that moment, the "excuse me," that was so classic Housewives. I love it. Anyway, Charlie says that he's open to fake beef with anyone. Again, going back to that housewife thing he's accusing them of. And that's when Hudson steps up and he's like, "Dude, it's no fake beef. You have been disrespectful and rude since the moment I met you." That's when Charlie lashes out even more, and he offers to go around the corner to fight Hudson. Hudson is not having it. He's like, "Okay, so you want to act some type of way in your corduroy pants? I don't care." Oh my God. I love reality TV. That just reminded me of when Sutton dragged Crystal about her ugly leather pants on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That was that same energy. I love the fact that he mentioned the material of the pants. Not just your ugly pants, but your corduroy pants. Love it. And he was not going for it at all. In the confessional, he said, "Dude, I'm not gonna fight him so his dad can sue me." And I was like, that hurts, because he doesn't even take Charlie as an adult enough to be able to sue him by himself. Like, he immediately bypassed Charlie, went to the dad. "Oh, I don't want his dad to come sue me." So this is where the episode ends. But I do have to say, as entertaining as all that was, I believe that Brooks should start speaking up for himself. I don't like the fact that he kind of hides behind the girls, hides behind his friends, and makes others advocate for him. Like, I think standing up for your friend is fine, but at the end of the day, you also have to stand up for yourself. But that was it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you for our next vacation. Have a great day.